who sent me.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
One of my favorite things to do is to go into schools and do Q&As with the kids. And the part that makes it the best for me is the difference in questions between younger and older kids, because it always makes me laugh. So like, this is an actual question I got once from a first grader. So if the Trinity always existed from the beginning of time, why did Jesus choose to come to earth when he did? Then you get into middle school and high school and it's like, so, what's your favorite color? But those questions, as from the deep ones to just the general questions, they do want to know the answer. And think of it like the ability to ask questions is a gift that we've been given by God. The ability to get to know one another, to understand one another, is something that is often taken for granted, something that we don't see as a gift, but it is. There are questions that we always want to ask because we want to receive answers in return. But then there are times when we ask questions that we don't really want to know the answers to, especially as it relates to our faith and our relationship with Jesus. So in our gospel today, we hear that Jesus and the disciples are making their way to making their way to Jerusalem. And so on the way, Jesus is telling the disciples again about the fact of how he's going to be handed over to death. That word is very key. He's going to hand himself over. No one's going to make him, no one's going to force him. It is his choice and his choice alone. Now the disciples, as Mark says, they're afraid to question him. They're afraid. That word again, afraid. So what are they afraid about? Are they afraid of Jesus himself? Or are they afraid of asking more because they don't want to know the answers, or they're not ready to receive any more than what Jesus is already telling them? And so in that way, they're not sure what's going to happen, and they're not sure what exactly they should do, because imagine if you had someone in your life, someone who you loved, someone that someone you just really just regarded as someone very important, and they start talking about something that makes you sad. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to ask any more because you don't want to know any more than what else is going on. But then those questions, especially when we go to Jesus, and there are times when we ask those questions or things that are going on in our lives, because we will be like, well, things are going pretty good. I have ups and downs just like anybody else. But you may have that one thing that's just nagging at you day after day, and you're just like, I just can't get rid of this. It could be a sin, a temptation, a feeling, whatever it is. But then you think, well, I don't really want to know more about this, because what if I ask the question and the answer I receive is not what I want? What if it requires me to change something about myself or about my life or about my attitude that I don't want to change? So then I'll just keep that to myself. But what happens then is that just keeps on, that's just on your mind, it's on your heart, and it doesn't go away despite your best efforts to ignore it. And there are times when you will ignore it at times, and you'll do a good job at it, but it'll always keep coming back until you actually ask the question, Lord, why is this thing still bothering me? And what can I do to overcome it? Just be prepared, because the answer you receive may not be the one that you want, but it is exactly what Jesus wants to give you in order for you to overcome what you are dealing with. So then, going back to the gospel, they reach this town of Capernaum, Jesus' home base, kind of like the center where he would go to rest. And he's noticing that as he's talking, the disciples are arguing amongst themselves. So he turns around and he goes, hey, what were you guys arguing about? And they go, oh, no, he heard that? Okay, we were kind of arguing about who's the greatest among us. And Jesus, okay, what about everything I have said up until this point would even make you want to start thinking about who's the greatest among you? At one point, did I ever say, get ready, guys, I'm going to rank you 1 through 12? I mean, like, why are you arguing? Because the thing about it is, because they were all called by Jesus, they're always thinking to themselves, well, who does Jesus love more? Or who does he regard more? You see, that's the thing. Far too often, we equate attention with love. Because someone gives someone more attention doesn't mean that they love you less. But we constantly compare ourselves to others, and that brings forth jealousy and envy. So what's going on in this moment is that the disciples are not focusing, or they're not asking the right questions. They're instead giving in to temptation and sin. And what does it mean for us? Well, we can be jealous of other people. We can compare ourselves to others because we have no problem with people being successful around us as long as they're not more successful than us. You're a great basketball player, but you better not be the starting point guard. That's me. You're great to work with, but you better not get that promotion. That's mine. You might want to do that. You might want to give mom and dad some more attention, but I'm the oldest, so stay out of the way. Know your place. But that's the thing about comparison. When we compare ourselves to others, we forget instantly the gifts and the blessings that God has given us, because God did not make us to be someone else. He made us to be us. He made you to be you. He gave you gifts, talents, and blessings that were just made for you and you alone. Because the only person that you should be comparing yourself to is who you were yesterday. You should only compare yourself to who you are so that every single day you wake up striving to be better and to be happier, and to use your God-given gifts and talents not only to make your life better, but to make other people around you better, because they see you and they see God working through you. And then lastly, to wrap all of this up, in the midst of all these arguments, Jesus says, do you really want to know how you can be great? And they go, yeah, how can we be great? Be a servant. And they're like, be a servant? How can that make you great? Because service, when done correctly and done rightly, always has the aim of the good of the other that you're serving. Because during Jesus' time, to be a servant, you were not very much looked upon with any kind of respect or attention. Certainly not someone that would be asked about how to live. They would not be, a servant would not be someone that someone would ask on how can I live my life or how can I be better. So what Jesus does is that he then brings a child and he places the child in front of him and says, be like this child. Because children, they seek to know, they seek to love, and they seek to understand. And especially younger children. You ever see younger children, like anytime any of their classmates or friends do anything, they don't think to themselves, I wish that was me. All they do is start clapping and they start cheering for everybody, because they know in their minds they just like seeing other people happy. And it makes them happier as a result. So the next time you feel the temptation to compare yourself to others, or you're envious about how someone lives their life, look at yourself and look at who you are and who God has made you to be. Because even if you're down on yourself or you're not sure what to think in the moment, you know in your heart that you have gifts and blessings that God has given you for the service and the good of others. Even if that's one gift that he gave you to give to one person in your entire life, That is the gift that he created for you to give to that person. And if you're not sure what those gifts are, ask him those questions. Lord, how can I understand all the more the blessings that you have given me? Lord, help me to understand the gifts that you have given me, especially when I can't notice them or I don't know how to use them the way that you want me to use them. Because if you truly give yourself over to the Lord in that way, the gifts will come to you in ways that you never thought possible. And someone else will thank God and thank you that you were there for them in that moment, especially when you needed them to be, when they needed you to be there for them in that moment. This day and every day, let us always seek to ask and receive, so that each and every day may be an opportunity to accept a new blessing, a new gift, and a new opportunity to love the Lord, to love ourselves, and to love the way that he loves each and every one of us. So that each and every day, the love that is within us may be brought forth in a way that always now and forever seek the good of those around us. Praise be Jesus Christ.
Now and forever.